From the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery in Nashville, Tennessee, it's Gardening Inside Out, a podcast with highlights from our Saturday morning live show, answering all your gardening questions, giving you plant advice for any space in your life. Let's start the show.
Well, it's Caroline Gant.
Well, it's Austin Lowen. I'm here.
Tyler Blankenship, here as always.
We're not snowed in anymore.
No,
Thank God.
my
Made
mood
it
is
out.
improved greatly.
Greatly. Y'all, if you don't know, we've been off for over a week. I guess a full week we were off, but
It
Well,
felt
since-
like 4.
Since we last talked to you, it's been almost a week and a half.
mm-hmm.
So we have to make up that time now.
Yes, we do.
We had snow. We had ice.
We had a mountain of snow. It wasn't just snow.
No, my house was 7 to 8 inches.
I
is
got
what
about 8 inches.
Uh-huh.
We might have set a local single-day snowfall record, I think.
Did we?
Really?
I think so.
Mm.
It was like the amount of snow that fell within the period.
It was a lot.
I don't doubt it. And we had a lot of people freaking out, didn't we? Remember last year?
We did.
Last year in December, we had a crazy freeze event with not much snow involved. There was some, but not anywhere near this. But this year, people were calling. They're like, are all my plants going to die like they did last year?
Yes, they did.
We did have single-digit temperatures, which we don't usually see that many of. And this was a pretty decent little stretch, but we had some warm-ups in between and some snowfall on top of the growth that was either covered or smothered by this. And I think that helped a lot.
All my plants look fine.
All mine do too. Yep, they were. As we talked about, we had been cold enough here to kind of get them to where they knew they needed to go to sleep, and they were plenty hardened off. And yeah, we had plenty of snowfall, so all the plants look fine to me.
They were tucked in and they were okay. My Florida Sunshine Elysium did take a hit, so I lied. I lied a little bit, but I knew it would.
Well, that one specifically, yeah.
Those yellow leaves look pretty sad right now.
I bet they look kind of white on top, don't they?
Oh, they're more like brown.
Really?
Like a tan brown color. Yeah.
That's a great color.
Turned them to
It's
leather.
It's not good, but it's not dead. I know it's not dead.
No, they don't die, but even on a normal winter, we've talked about this before, they'll suffer some dieback, at least by a third or so, it seems. But then they flush. It's almost like a nice prune for them.
Yeah, nature's prune.
It's good.
I had a couple of trials and tests. My Bihu Japanese maple in a 1 gallon, which I have not planted yet, I ended up sticking in a big pile of snow. I just
threw it
buried
out
it
there.
like a Corona in an ice bucket and mounded it all up. And I was like, it'll be fine. The tag read -10 to -20.
Yeah.
I'm sure
So-
that's fine.
We were and it was well asleep. And then my orange tree, this is going to be another experiment. I grew an orange tree from seed about 6 or 7 years ago and left it out last winter. Thought it was dead because it lost all of its limbs.
So was
and
it
I
even
cut it all
out
the
in
way back.
December of last winter?
It was not. No.
Okay.
I had it in my garage at that time. But this time, it's been out since last February.
Wow.
So I'm going to see how it fared. It still has all its leaves, but it's got like a yellow orangish tinge right now. And it had snow on it for half the time, but then those single digits hit it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we got to keep us posted on
Yeah,
that,
we gotta
obviously.
find out. You sent us that photo though, and it looked beautiful in the snow.
It really did.
It did. It was kind of weird to see one out there, and it'd be cool if it's just really hardy rootstock that just happened to be from seed, then I could start grafting stuff onto it.
You could since you did it from seed, you could patent that plant and take cuttings and end up selling it as the first cold hardy lemon or orange.
Orange.
But if a freeze happened, it would kill the grafted,
It's not grafts from seed. You have no graft on your plant.
I'm just saying
But
if
you
I did
grafted
graft
stuff to it.
Oh. Well, yeah, you could, but you could just sell the actual stock if it produces good fruit.
I'll buy one from you.
I still have yet to have fruit. We'll see.
It'll happen one day. Did you leave your olive out?
I did. Yes.
How's that look?
Honestly, it looks pretty fine.
Still has its leaves?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't lose any leaves. It's suffered a little bit of, I guess I would say, I'm not even suffer, but it has a little discoloration, I guess. Maybe like darker leaves, if you will, but not
Okay.
like black, not like black or brown, and no like weird spotting or anything. Like just kind of darker, kind of like how your boxwoods go, through the wintertime. It's kind of like darken up or bronzy up a little.
Is this another experiment for you?
Of course.
The olive tree, yeah, he's
so
been
it's still in a
experimenting
pot?
with this forever.
Still in a nursery pot in a little 3-gallon. It's a little shrubby olive. And honestly, I kept it on my back porch, which is by far the coldest spot of my house whenever it snows.
North facing, basically. Right?
Yeah, it's north facing and it stays
man.
cold.
How does it get enough sun? Is it wide open in the?
It's on my back porch. It is not wide open whatsoever.
Has it been on your back porch all summer?
Yeah, it's been out there a while.
Yeah. Olive trees can take a lot more outside than people give them credit for.
I know.
It's moving them inside that takes a toll on them.
Yeah, that's the I hate moving an olive tree inside.
Yeah.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you ever brought an olive tree inside from a greenhouse.
Loses its leaves.
Almost immediately.
Looks like a stick. And then will usually reflush in the summer if you give it a chance. Most people throw them away.
Yeah. Yeah, because whenever people see a plant with no leaves, they obviously think it's dead.
Yeah.
Not always the case. Rarely the case, actually.
Well, all the trees outside aren't dead right now.
Great point, Caroline.
Yes, thank you. I'm the smartest one in this room right now.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
But I am interested to see both of your plants and my Florida Sunshine Elysium, how they hold up once the sun comes back out and it starts to warm up. Because as we all know from last year, the damage wasn't seen until weeks later.
Good point. We were talking about that. Me and Tyler the other day did a video on Akuba, which last year Akuba lost all of its leaves. I mean, they got whacked. So we have two. They ended up coming back from the ground. And we have two here on property, and we decided to cover one, and we decided to leave one wide open. When I came back to the nursery today, Tyler had uncovered it yesterday, and I came and looked at it today, and there's pretty much like to no difference between the two. So don't really think covering was going to do anything over this cold period. As we talked about before, covering is much more of a thing to do in the spring when things flush their new growth, and you want to try to protect the new growth. But here in the wintertime, what's the point of covering? Yeah. I just don't see one.
I didn't cover anything.
Nothing. I did take a picture of I put my ball cap and my sunglasses on top of a boxwood that had snow on top. It looked like a little Russian hat.
You did.
With my ball cap.
It was, what did you call it? What was the name?
Well,
Let's give them the backstory.
My boxwoods are named Justin Browers. That's the specific cultivar. So I named them Jostin Browers.
Jostin Browers.
My name's Austin. So Jostin, you get it.
Jostin Browers. And if you guys want to see that photo, it's actually up on our Facebook and Instagram page. It's our Facebook profile pic right now.
Wow.
Check it out because it is a good photo.
It's cute.
It's cute. It's adorable. It's like a little Kev as a boxwood.
Who's Kev?
Who is Kev?
Nobody knows.
David already explained it in a previous episode.
Kev is Austin.
Speaking of in a different episode, y'all aren't watching this obviously, but this last episode we had to do through Zoom because we were cooped up in our house.
Yep. So you get to see all of our houses, or at least a very small part of them.
Fun fact, the very first time I have ever been on Zoom.
That is wild to me. Yep. And you did it.
I don't do computers
You were a natural.
Oh, it's
No
natural.
one could tell.
Nope.
Yeah,
It's great.
he's used to being live. Y'all couldn't hear me because I was having some kind of audio issue, so I am noticeably absent from this broadcast.
But don't worry, I was texting with Tyler the whole time, so he's still there.
That was my only line into the show, which was really funny watching them and then having to respond that way.
It was fun. It was different. I definitely enjoy being in studio much more than being in my house over Zoom.
Yes, the set, everything is just much more lively and energetic.
I couldn't get my lights right. Couldn't figure out the backdrop very good.
Y'all had it together pretty well though. Looking, I mean, your little plants in the background, your matching euphorbias.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
We were twinning. Pretty cute right there.
Glad you could find a clean corner of your homes.
Barely.
I know.
Yeah, I had a nice clean spot. So, like we said, we Zoomed. So if the audio sounds a little bit different, that would be why.
It was still a good show though.
It was a great show. It was good to see you guys.
It was.
Even if it was just on a computer screen. Okay.
Now we're in person though.
Now we're in person.
And we're in all your ears.
Yes, we are. And let's put more into your ears.
With this show right here.
The show right here, right now. It was Saturday.
January 20th.
January, you knew I didn't know. That's right.
I just got your back. That's all.
Thank you. Likewise.
Love
always.
y'all.
Love it. Do it.
Listen.
Our at-home version, Josh.
Yes, it is, David.
Of gardening inside out. from 5 separate locations today, and we're glad to have everyone in today. And we're here to talk about whatever it is you're interested in. I know that Caroline already has some questions for us, but so what's on your mind, guys? How has this week affected you apart from not being at Bates Nursery all week?
I've been watching my camellia, or my 3 camellias actually, a lot this week. And, last year was weird too, because it took about a week and a half or so for plants to really show their damage and show what happened. So I can't say for a fact that my camellia is not going to be damaged. But at the moment, I don't see any discoloration. I still see leaves that are up and shiny, and I still see secondary buds that are going to crack in the spring. Everything looks intact and looks okay.
Cool. Well, it may look different
all mine
in a
look
week.
Great.
It may look different in a week or two, but again, like I try to remind everyone in the newsletter this week, it's still January.
Exactly.
There's a lot of weather out there likely to occur between now and springtime. So just, hold on and stay tuned, and we'll keep you informed and give you the best action that you can take to make sure you get the most out of your gardening efforts.
Hey, speaking of staying tuned, Sam, Margaret, Jude, and Alita, shout out for watching this morning. Those are the ones we can see. So comment and let us know you're out there for us, okay?
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. We do. Hey, Caroline,
you want to ask me what?
I was going to ask you about your Elysium.
Okay, so when I did my videos for the No Down a couple days ago, that is the only thing that looks like it has sustained any damage. And it doesn't really look that sad. So I think it's going to be okay. Maybe. Some of the leaves have fallen off.
The top
it's
leaves
not going to die.
Okay.
The top leaves look pretty bad. One of them looks worse than the other. I have 4 of them. I have some faith that it'll be okay. But yeah, good question. It doesn't look great, but when I planted them last year, I knew that I was taking a risk. But my camellias look fantastic. They don't look like they have any damage. So you've already talked about boxwoods a little bit. And I know you're a little bit worried about yours, right?
Not really, no.
Not really? Not worried about your Justin Browers?
My perfect Justin Brower had this perfect snow cap atop of them. They look like little. It
was looking good with the shades on too, by the way.
Yeah, I put a hat on it.
Besides, you did enough worrying last year for a decade's worth of boxwood worry. So
that's right. No more worrying for me. No, they look good. They're still up, looking good. Velvets look good too. So go ahead, Caroline.
Perfect.
What's this boxwood?
Well, let's put
question?
one of our viewers at ease. Okay. Are my boxwoods that I replaced this summer going to make it?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I can't see them. I don't know what they look like. And like we just mentioned, last year it took kind of a minute for us to see damage. So boxwoods took a long minute to show damage. Okay, mine were, my Browers that did die that was a couple months after the event. So I can't say with certainty that they're going to be okay, but I'm not seeing or noticing boxwoods. I even noticed on the news the other night they were showing some plants around town, and when News Channel 5 was showing some stuff, and everything just looked okay. It just looked like snow was covering it, had that blanket on top of it, and things look good. So I'm thinking we're in the clear this year.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I think, at least to this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're just fine. Well, we did get a question about the snow and the freeze coming and just cold weather in general about covering Japanese maple. I know we talked about it last week, but what's your suggestion on that?
Don't cover a Japanese maple. No, it's a very cold hardy plant. I looked at mine just yesterday, actually, with Marley. We were walking around in the yard looking at deciduous things, and all the deciduous things right now, if you go out and look, all their sticks covered with ice, 100% covered with ice, but all of its buds are tucked in below that ice. They're like airtight buds. Deciduous plants have a great way of keeping those buds from any moisture or any cold getting in there. They're super tight in their bud. No reason to worry about Japanese maples. No reason to cover them. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, and they are a zone 3 or zone 4 hardy, at least, depending on the cultivar. So they're very adept at cold temperatures. Almost, even if you have it in a container above the ground, it probably did not get cold enough to really do any damage, particularly given that we had significant rainfall. So everything went into the freeze extremely wet, which is very positive. I know that's counterintuitive for a lot of folks, but yes, water does freeze at 32 degrees, but soil temperature is what really counts for plant damage. And as far as how well the plant will do going forward, we've not seen any soil temperatures get down even close to 17 degrees, although I haven't checked everybody's everywhere, obviously. But with the amount of insulating effect we've had on top, we're in good shape. So to this point, everything looks good. Yeah, the biggest damaging thing on Japanese maples typically is when they start to flush out in the spring and then we have a hard freeze. That's the only time you really have to be too concerned about covering a Japanese maple. And obviously, we're a long way from any conditions that are similar to that.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. I think so. All right. We have a question about rosemary with this freeze. I use rosemary as a landscape plant on a slope. What would be a good replacement if it all dies?
If it all dies, my go-to on this is going to be juniper. There's a number of juniper options, and juniper looks somewhat similar to rosemary, I guess, at least with its foliage texture. But it lives on a hillside and a slope very, very well because it is an extremely drought-tolerant plant. They're very cold hardy. Pretty easy to maintain. So I'm a juniper guy when it comes to that scenario.
Unlikely that they're going to need to be replaced based on anything we've had to this point. They're going to be, like you said, the great drainage is very important with respect to them, and the fact that they're sufficiently hardy, and we've had the snow cover, so there's nothing yet that would indicate. Now, it doesn't mean they don't have to be cut back. Maybe down to about 6 or 8 inches tall. That would not be unusual because could have frozen down to the snow line, but they won't be dead. So don't give up on them just yet. You got a long time to evaluate them, and at least give them a couple of months before you even begin to start thinking about it and doing any kind of a change.
What might have given somebody a little sense of comfort is if they had known that they had planted all of their shrubs and flowers and trees with Earth Mix Garden products, David.
Gardening Inside Out is brought to you by Earth Mix Garden Products, creating regionally sourced high-quality soil blends and amendments for the sustainable-minded gardener. Fall and winter are great times to plant in the Southeast, and Earth Mix can help you with Landscape Soil Conditioner. Mix landscape with your native soil to feed all winter long. Added mycorrhizal fungi help your plants get established faster and increase hardiness through the year ahead. Visit earthmix.net for more information and retailers near you. Remember, success begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden Products.
Colin's watching, and he says, where do you source those sources? The fungi and such. Where do they come from? I'm sure you had a whole network of suppliers that stuff comes from.
Endo and ectomycorrhiza fungi and humic acid are produced by a pretty vast array of different producers all around the country. And mainly what we try to look for is something that is OMRI listed. That is the Organic Materials Registry Institute. And what that does, that gives us assurance that we're using a product that is organic and has been certified as such, so that we are not putting anything in there that is going to be chemical in nature. So by going at it from that approach, we're able to secure those things and having a full chain of command over the other inputs that go into it. So it's an ongoing process, and it takes vigilance, and it takes happening to things well in advance, many, many months, if not more than a year in advance, to make sure that those sources are maintained and that the organic nature of them is managed.
Very cool.
Wonderful.
Very cool.
Okay, so we have a question about bulbs and corms that people planted long before this freeze came, but specifically ranunculus. They said they planted it, they covered it with straw. Do you think it will survive?
Now, what's a ranunculus?
It's like a tiny little cute flower.
Oh, it's one of the most beautiful flowers that ever existed, honestly. It's got like the most double petals. It's got the highest petal count of a little single flower I think I've ever seen.
It looks like a thick poppy, kind of.
Yeah, that's exactly
like if a poppy was on steroids, that is exactly what this would look like.
Do they have a common name, or is ranunculus the ranunculus?
It's ranunculus.
Ranunculus? Sounds like a Harry Potter plant.
I haven't heard any other name for it.
Okay.
No, I've never heard of a different.
Sounds like a Harry Potter name.
But I want to say ranunculus. It's in my head somewhere that ranunculus is fine with the cold. It's upset with our heat. I think, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I've had it come back before, but this has been years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just thinking out loud here, but I think it would be okay because, like you said,
I do too.
Yeah. I mean, there's only one way to find out.
Yeah. What else are we
Wait
gonna
until
do?
spring to see if it comes up.
If
Well,
it
and
doesn't, they're fairly cheap.
Yeah.
And that's
Get
what
some
we
new
do
ones.
as gardeners in general. There is
Mhm.
no exact science to anything that you're planting. I mean, there are basic guidelines that help give you an intuitive feel about how something's going to do. However, when you have weather extremes, be it drought or flooding or severe freezing or extreme heat, all these things have effects that are rarely known in advance fully. You only find out after the fact.
Mhm.
So we're all in this journey together.
That's right. And what a journey it has been this week. Wow. All right. We've got a question from Miriam. Good morning, Miriam. Hope you're watching. This is a really good, fantastic, and very relevant question to what's going on right now. Just heard vascular streak dieback is affecting red buds. Any tips on how to prevent it? It's a scary thing.
Miriam, we got an email. David actually sent us an email from the state that was talking about vascular streak dieback and red buds, and it is happening. And from what I've read about it, and I got kind of deep with it, is that they really don't know in exact which fungi is making this happen. And it's also not, I wouldn't say just hugely prevalent. We got 1 billion red buds in our woods, and I think that it's more of an issue with growers and nurserymen that are growing them in very specific areas rather than say our native red buds. So I don't necessarily think it's anything you need to really worry about yet. I mean, like I said, it's mainly coming from nursery stock. And anything that's been, tested or found out that they've got that, we're certainly not receiving it. They're burning it right on site. I mean, they're taking measures to do that before it's ever sent out. But if you have a red bud that's in your yard, it's been growing for a while, I don't think it's necessarily something you need to worry about or something you need to prepare for.
Yeah, isolated plants in general that are apart from other things that might be carrying the pathogen that is leading up to it. They're causing the problems. If you, as you just said, Austin, if it is in your yard, you don't really have to worry about it because unless you've had your neighbor bringing their red bud over to visit, and that's unlikely. So you're probably in good shape. But it's a great question because people need to be thinking about it. The real part of the real issue lies is that there's a lot of new red bud cultivars out there, and likely there's one or more of them that has an increased susceptibility to this particular pathogen, and they're still working on trying to isolate that so they can come up with what is the best treatment. So it's unfortunately it's not a cut and dried process, and nor have we gotten to a point where we have definitive answers regarding that. So we'll keep you posted.
Yep, still a lot of unknowns.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got some questions in on Facebook that just came through really fast for me, so I missed them right when they came in. Jim is asking, what is the best earth mix product do you recommend for winter sowing?
Wow.
Earth mix product for winter sowing.
Are we
Go.
planting
Honestly,
a tree?
I mean,
Are we planting? Are we planting a
sowing,
house plant? Yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah,
assuming she means sowing seeds.
Yeah, it's got to be garden plants, don't you think, Austin?
Yeah, I would assume they mean sowing seeds. I mean, you can honestly do this in a number of different products. Really, garden, which is our bread and butter product, been around forever. I mean, that's our go-to. Honestly, with me, it's got some good topsoil in it. So but it's also got all the good stuff in it. It's heavy enough to kind of stay where you want it. If I'm sowing seeds in the winter, I think I'm using garden.
I don't disagree. And, the only thing you might do if you're going to broadcast seed on top is to cover it with a layer of perlite.
Yep.
Where that you actually have that layer on there so that you can hold moisture at the surface, but not keep it soggy. And that's the delicate balance when you're germinating seed, is to keep it wet enough, but not at a constantly saturated state. So you do that. Then if you need to, for whatever reason, excavate those out, which you're likely going to do. If you're germinating seed, you're going to be transplanting those into something else. You have a very low density material on the top of it that makes it easy to do that process.
Stuff I started inside last year, I used Proganics I. So I mean that's what I started with. Yeah.
And inside starting mix, definitely use Proganics. I do that too. Last year I did a whole pot. Actually, I got some from some seed we had left over from last year that Paula, our manager, was just kind of giving away because we got to make room for new. And I got this cat grass is what it's called. It's like a winter wheat, winter rye type of grass. I did that last year straight up inside in a pot with Proganics I. It germinated in like 4 days.
Yep.
And it was a cute little pot. It was. Inside sowing, I'm going I, but outside sowing, I'm going with our garden.
Did Bobo graze on it? I'm just curious.
We didn't have Bobo at that point, but my other cat probably did. Nene, who's yelling at me right now, wants to go outside. I'm just like, give me a minute. Y'all will probably hear her in a second.
Yay, bring her up. All right, so we've got a couple things from Pam. Good morning, Pam. She does say best potting soil ever. I'm assuming she is talking about the Earth Mix Proganics I that I was mentioned earlier when I was talking about repotting some of my houseplants while being snowed in. And then she said ranunculus looks like antique roses. I have some that come back every year. They made it last winter in the flash freeze. So it sounds like, thank you, Pam, that will just be just fine, everybody. So no need to worry about it. So we've got a question from Colin coming in. Good morning, Colin.
Hey,
and this
Col.
is a 3-parter, so stick with me for a minute while I go through it. This question is specifically for the expert Caroline Gant. Hi, that's me. We have a heartleaf philodendron in our low light bedroom. Nothing else seems to grow well in that light, even supposedly low light plants. What else can we put there? ZZ didn't like it, nor prayer plant. So I actually have a very low light bedroom. It has a north facing window, and that's all the light it gets. And I've got a couple Dracaena in that room that really, really do great. The thing you have to watch with low light and putting medium light plants in there is making sure you don't overwater it. People water it the same as a plant that's getting, sufficient sunlight. So as long as you cut back on watering, a lot of plants will adapt to that. But Dracaena is going to do great. Sansevieria, if you haven't tried it, again, make sure you're not overwatering it. And then one of my favorites, which I set on the floor right here, I snuck it in during a broadcast that I have in that space. This is a sparkling Sarah Aglaonema. So it looks like it's going to love a lot of light, but this actually does really well in that room. It gets absolutely zero direct sunlight, only like a tiny bit of indirect light. And it's actually sitting right next to that north facing window. So not in front of it, but next to it. So it doesn't even get room or light across the room, and it does really well. So beautiful sparkling plant. Sarah, gorgeous. It grows kind of slow, but yeah, I love it. Great question, Colin. But those would be my 3 top suggestions for that. And again, watering is going to be your key issue in keeping those plants alive in lower light. So make sure you're not overdoing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, good morning, Colin. Hope you're doing well.
Yep. Got one here from the YouTube channel from Kelly Rue 3. How long does it normally take plant introductions to be brought in? Monrovia and Proven Winners are highlighting the new 2024 plants. PW has a new Agastache, is much more petite and easier to tuck in.
Oh, tuck her in.
What's interesting about the whole plant introduction process is that for every cultivar that successfully makes it to the market, there's probably, what do you want to guess, Austin? 10,000 different, across the board of all the various growers, and each of them have their own hybridization programs. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing amount. Now, we've all seen a lot of things in the market, a lot of different kinds of garden hydrangeas, where there's just been, there is blue Julian heucheras in the perennial world. Mm-hmm. How many different cultivars of those are there? So the other plants, it takes a long time to evaluate them in a variety of conditions that will help give enough indication so that they can invest the resources into the propagation of whatever this cultivar has turned out to be, and the marketing funds that are going to go into promoting it. So it can be anywhere from 3 to 7 years, depending on what it is.
I imagine it's very regional too, isn't it, David? They're gonna start things in the zones that they know they're gonna, and if they move to that margin.
But most of the things, at least the way it seems to me, and Austin, you may have a different take on this, but it seems to me that by intent, they try to hybridize things that have a more broad and less regional appeal, simply because that they have greater chance of being able to market these things. And we've all seen things that have been put out into the market that have not been very good plants. And, because time really gives the information that, in the landscape, in people's yards, that's where, as they say, the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm. And I know that our very own Julie Patterson last year actually got to tour one of the growing facilities that Proven Winners has. And Proven Winners is probably one of the best growers and new hybridizers of plants. And I believe where she went was in Michigan. So that's where they were testing these plants. And like David said, it could take 7 years for them to trial a plant, watch it year after year, see the disease resistance, see the pest resistance, and to determine which one they're going to put out for a new introduction versus the ones they're not going to put out because they didn't perform well. So this is an ongoing process. So if you ever do see a new introduction from Proven Winners, it's been trialed and it's been tested, but it's been tested in Michigan. And that, it's a little bit different when it comes to heat around here. Obviously, if it's trialed in Michigan and it comes back plenty cold hardy, we can already say that. But does it going to love our summertime here? That's why David was saying not all the time are those new intros great for our zone specifically, but they have been trialed and tested for a number of years. So you know that something's good about it.
Additional support for Gardening Inside Out is brought to you by Bates Nursery and Garden Center, a third-generation nursery located in Nashville, Tennessee, and 20-time recipient for Nashville's Best Garden Center, offering the widest selection of new arrivals for fall, like specimen conifers, Japanese maples, and pansies in nearly every color. Open year-round, minutes from the heart of Nashville in beautiful Whites Creek, Tennessee. Browse their selection online anytime at batesnursery.com. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932.
Hey, David, you did talk about our Bates Botanical Boot Camp webinars. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Austin has one coming up next week. Is that right, Austin? You're going to discuss, do a masterclass on hydrangeas.
Yeah, how to prune them over the wintertime, or how to not prune them over the wintertime. I'll go into depth. I'm not going to try to make it too long. Maybe 20 to 30 minutes or so, but I'm going to teach you how to prune the 5 species of hydrangeas that we sell here, and most common hydrangeas, and like I said, and when not to prune them as well. So yeah, that's coming up.
It's one of the areas of greatest confusion for gardeners because there are 5 distinct species that have a lot of different cultivars within each one of them, and some of them bloom on old wood, some of them bloom on new wood, some of them are repeat bloomers. So
it's so confusing.
There's a lot of information to cover.
Yep. So,
well, if you're wanting to check out that webinar and learn all about them, you can go to the Bates Botanical Bootcamp tab at the bottom of the Bates Nursery website. So I can't remember the date off the top of my head because we did have to switch it around due to the snow, but that will be up there. You can log in, you can view it live, or you can watch the recording after. The nice thing about watching it live is that you can ask questions. So if you're wondering anything during the webinar, if Austin says something that you're like, I don't know, you can type in the chat box and he will get that and respond to you.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all, let's get back to some more questions because we're about out of time. My huge hackberry tree has a terrible aphid honeydew party every fall. What can I do?
Cut it down.
Yeah, they do. Big old party.
It's the worst party. I lived in a house that had a hackberry tree in the front, and I mean, it looked like snow part of the year with all of the aphids, and then everything was just disgusting.
Yep.
And unfortunately, if you don't treat that with a systemic insecticide in the spring, you're going to see that every single year. So there are systemics that you can put down into the ground that the roots will take up into the plant, and that will take care of that aphid issue. Now, that can be fairly pricey, and you have to do it every single year. Yep. And plus, it's a hackberry tree. So like Josh said, if you're really, really over it, hire a good contractor that can come out and take that thing down for you. That's a little bit pricey too, but at least you only have to do it once. Well, you don't have to repeat it every year.
Yeah, Drew.
The alternative to that, if you want something that's less chemically involved is to spray it with dormant oil before it puts out new foliage. But again, that has to be repeated every year. So, there's not an easy answer to it other than the solution that Josh offered at the beginning of this little topic here is to remove it.
Well, and it's probably right up next to the patio. It's probably getting all over the patio furniture, the patio, the house, the grill, everything like that. Now, Drew, Drew used to recommend one, but he said it takes on a mature tree that huge. I think in the question, you're going to have an investment in that, just in that chemical, or even
imidacloprid is a typical insecticide that's systemic that can be used, and yes, it is expensive. So it's one of those things. It's not harmful to the tree. No. It is a nuisance because of this honeydew that gets put down, and then all of the fungal mess that grows in it. So it's just a question of how high your personal tolerance is to the unsightly nature of it. It will get all over your vehicles and everything else. So there's that.
It's the worst. Hey, y'all, Tyler just got back to me on that date for Austin's hydrangea webinar, because I know you guys are dying to hear what it is. It is January 25th. So there it is. It's coming up fast. I hope Austin's ready for it. I'm sure he is, because he knows everything about them. So what day of the week is that, y'all? Today's the 20th.
Thursday.
Right, let's get to some more questions. Is it possible to successfully grow sweet peas in Tennessee, or does it get too hot and humid? I grow them most years. I don't do them every year. I start them early. So I get them once the starts come in here at the nursery. I don't start them from seed because I like to have them up a little bit more. Some of my other veggies I do like to start from seed, but not this one because it does love cold weather a little bit more. And mine will grow and produce, I would say, until probably mid-May, end of May here. Possibly beginning of June, now that I think about it. Yeah.
Okay, because Mama wants some. I may have to try some.
They're great. Also, I don't get a lot of time for them producing, but I do get a couple weeks, and they produce a lot in those few weeks.
Don't you think they might be talking about just the annual flower sweet peas?
Oh, they might, which I did try to grow one year. Yeah.
Kitty.
Yeah. That's neat.
My cats are right over here somewhere. Yeah. So we are a little too hot for that one. I tried it once and I got some foliage up, but it never flowered.
Our annual employee that we had that's not with us anymore, Melissa McKay, hope you're listening, hope you're doing well. She told me last year that to get any success with sweet peas, you pretty much have to drop them whenever it's winter time. So go ahead and sow them, get them where you want them, and they'll stay there, and then they'll germinate whenever it's, cool enough, and then they typically will produce flowers. But it is, like Caroline said, it's a touch hot for sweet peas if you grow them from starts. But if you do it from seed early enough, I've heard good reports from that. So there's my input. I've never grown sweet peas. I don't know. They don't do it for me. Yeah.
Really?
No.
No money on the sweet peas.
No money on the sweet peas.
They're pretty, don't get me wrong, but it's just a short season. So I'm like, I'm going to use other annuals that'll last through the whole season.
They are so pretty, though. It's one of my favorite flowers when they're like in a cut arrangement. They're absolutely stunning. Mm-hmm. So we've got one more question this morning. We're wrapping it up right around time, y'all. This is great. Suggestions on bushes and shrubs that grow in mounds, flat to the ground with a round top dome. Very specific, and I love it.
Very specific. Okay, so close to the ground, mounding, but a flat top dome?
I think they mean, with a round, flat to the ground with a round top dome. So flat to the ground, like a muffin top. You always call things muffin tops. Little moundy boy, yes.
Blue Star Juniper comes to mind for that. It's, that's a little moundy boy. My all gold juniper is kind of a sprawly fellow, but it still comes up about a foot and a half. That's a great one. I absolutely love that plant. Look what I got here. Actually, before we go, look.
Oh, you're reaching.
I harvested these from my all gold juniper in this funny little contraption, and then Marley put Christmas balls in them, and it looks festive. So there you go. All gold juniper cuttings. I'm going to see if they root. Anyway,
Very cool.
what else we got? I mean, there's a lot of like perennials that come to mind. Like heuchera is a little mounding perennial. Um,
You might consider something like soft touch holly if
there you
you're looking
go.
for some kind of a broadleaf plant. Well, last week we got a similar question. I mentioned line mound spirea. There are other low growing spireas that lend themselves well to a low mounding growth habit. So any of the dwarf type spireas are quite good for that. Much of it is a direct result of picking one that's low growing and your trimming habits.
Trimming it.
You know? So a lot of them, some things will do it quite naturally. Other things with a little bit of trimming encouragement can be headed down that path. The soft touch holly is one of those examples of something you might prefer, a Helleri holly or Heller's Japanese holly, one that's probably more true mounding. Also, there's another holly, dwarf Yopon holly. So if you're thinking in terms of a broadleaf type of plant, then those are considerations that you might use.
Evergreen as well, right?
Yeah, they're certainly evergreen. Good little choice. If you want to get fancy, think about a true dwarf Hinoki cypress. Come out and look at those, y'all. They are on the ground. Little moundy boy. I mean, that is just
with a little texture.
They look like a brain.
They do. Yep. They just sit amongst the earth, just with this excellent green color, deep, deep green, and they're the slowest growing thing on the planet. So that could be cool, but you got to pay for those.
Yeah,
I've got one in a pot.
If Josh had one, it would be named Einstein.
Uh-huh.
Really?
Josh, did you say you do have one in a pot?
Yep, got one in a pot.
Sure. I remember that.
Did you name it?
Not yet.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Einstein.
We're still thinking.
It's going to be Einstein.
That's what I'm thinking because it looks like a brain. That's what just my thought.
Mm-hmm. That's a cool plant.
Sounds like you have named it, Josh. So there you go.
Actually, we haven't. I have forgotten that I had to name him, but he hasn't. Again, because they are so slow growing. I mean, that was why I took Austin's suggestion to put it in a pot, and then I put some stones on top of the pot. And I mean, it's gorgeous. It's just teeny tiny. I bought it. I think it was the first purchase I made last year at Bates was that because I came in on the Isley truck, and it was a little baby guy. So I mean, I got years for that in that pot. So we'll see what happens with it.
Mm-hmm. I remember you doing that. I recommended a pod because the only thing that makes me a little nervous about the Hinoki cypress is when it's on the ground like that around here is our moisture and how wet we can get and how fungal issues and stuff that get around in our native soils. Like that makes me a little nervous with that plant. That's why I told you to put it in a pot with rocks up underneath it. I just think it needs good drainage and it like I said, it just sits atop of the ground, so like it's getting all that moisture. So that's why I wanted you to raise it up, and I'm glad to hear that it's doing well.
Well, and if you're a clumsy gardener like myself, I'm liable to have stepped on it because it is a little bitty guy too. So, yard boy, not the yard boy, but yard boy gets a little crazy with the string trimmer too.
Yeah, it's also hard to see them in the snow. I've stepped on a couple of my plants, so hopefully they'll be fine once it all thaws out.
They'll be fine.
Hopefully it thaws out really soon because I'm ready to get out.
Well,
me too.
that is going to happen this week. And what we're going to do is I talked about the weather at the top of the show was that we're going to make this transition. Have another night of really frigid conditions, possibly going down to 0 or slightly below in some areas around. I think the forecast low is about 4 degrees currently, but they change it every hour. So, it'll be somewhere in the lower single digits likely, or maybe upper or lower, maybe some minus digits. So keep that in mind. So we've got another night of that. Tomorrow on Sunday, it will begin to moderate. We're going to get close to the freezing mark, and we're going to have sunshine. And then Monday, the thaw in earnest begins, and then we get a lot of rain on top of all of that. For the foreseeable future, it appears, maybe getting 2 to 3 inches of rain this coming week. So from a horticultural standpoint, the plants will be appreciative of that. So, we're coming through moisture wise for things that have been outdoors and protective wise in as good a shape as you could have, given the relative temperatures. Mother Nature has provided some protection, and The lead-in time has been, good moisture in the ground, and we're getting it immediately afterwards. So there you go. All right. Well, hey, thanks to everyone for tuning in today, and thanks for all you guys. We pulled it off. We did view ahead a little bit and plan ahead a little bit a couple of weeks ago, because I just felt like this situation was going to arise. So thankfully we took a few advanced preparations on that, and we're counting it down here. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Thank you for tuning into the Gardening Inside Out podcast. If you're looking for more information or more from your hosts, don't forget that we have a live Saturday morning broadcast, 8 a.m. Central Time, on YouTube and Facebook. You can also follow us on our Instagram channel. That's @Gardening Inside Out for more posts, reels, and in-depth dives to topics and things we've discussed on the show. If our content resonates with you, consider giving us a follow, like, and subscription on all of our social media pages. See you next time.